Rachel Entrekin, welcome to the Freetrail podcast at long last. How are you doing?
I'm great. Feeling fabulous.
Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Broadcasting at home in Conifer, Colorado, just a couple days removed from another fantastic accomplishment, your winning course record at the High Lonesome 100. How are you feeling?
Fine. I was joking with Kevin. I was like, yeah, let's go do a 14er like as we're leaving the day after the race. I was kind of joking. But today I did finally convince Kevin to let me outside. So I got to go for a run and that was nice. So I feel really good. I don't know. We were kind of talking about this before, but I do think there's probably maybe something wrong with me. But whatever, it works.
Yeah. Well, sometimes our weaknesses become our strengths, right? If you can't keep yourself from being active, maybe one of the consequences of that is that you become one of the best in the world at these 100+ mile races. But Let's dive right into it. In fact, we always start this podcast in an introspective place, Rachel, and you're primed for this. So why don't we just continue this conversation by getting your contribution to the what makes you question when you're being introspective. What would you say are your core character attributes?
Well, I definitely think a healthy dose of one-liners is pretty key to my personality. I don't know. I think the biggest or the most important thing for me to always keep in mind is that I am choosing to do this, and things that we choose to do, it's a lot easier to do them if we're enjoying ourselves and lifting other people up and making them laugh while we're doing it. You're not going to bring anybody into ultra running if you are doing it the entire time looking completely miserable. And that's my biggest thing is, I love this sport. It's done so much for me. And so getting to share that and I've suddenly become this internet thing where everybody randomly comments on my things telling me that they love me. And it's okay, well, I'm glad, but I am happy that, I can be maybe the fun one out there.
Yeah.
You can still do hard things and you can still do them well with a smile on your face and cracking jokes to the aid station volunteers. So just, why not I think having fun is one of my kind of core tenets.
I love it. We get to do this. That's a saying that my friend Matthew Hoadley says as it relates to these experiences that oftentimes are associated with immense suffering. We have to remember that we get to do this. But
exactly. And we often pay money to do this. So
yeah, a lot of money. And I want to talk about that a little bit later. But
let's talk about it.
I was just saying to you that I spoke to our mutual friend, Jake Vale, today, someone who has been a close friend of yours and training partner over time. And one of the things he said to me was, she's one of the best in the world, but she doesn't know it yet. So you've been in the sport for a long time. Where do you see yourself now? And how are you dealing with this remarkable success?
It's pretty strange. Because I have been running I've been running ultras since about 2013. And I've been decent at them, mostly just from a lack of competition on the female side. Only really within the last, I would say, 5 to 8 years has it really exploded with women participation. But my first 50K, I was one of 4 women. So I'm, and I think I was the youngest by about 15 years. So I'm probably going to win this. I actually don't think I even did. But yeah, it's weird I was actually talking with Kevin about this today because I was asking him if he was surprised that I won High Lonesome. And he was like, no. Are you surprised that you won? And I was like, Kevin, I'm always surprised that I win. So I still don't think it's really sunk in that I'm up there with the elite people now. Yeah. I kind of hope it maybe doesn't, because I don't really mind having that underdog mentality where no one cares you run ultras, including no one cares that I run either. Because I don't know, it sounds like it would be a little stressful if I put so much into my performance. But yeah,
do you see yourself as someone with the potential to be one of the best in the world? And is that something you aspire towards?
Boy, that's a tricky question. Do I want to be the best? I think that being the best is a spectrum. Like, I think you can all be the best at certain things. I certainly want to be the best at having fun out there. So yeah, I'd like to be the best at that. Now, if you're asking, do I want to like win every race I sign up for ever? Like, I just, I don't even want to hope for that, because that opens up a lot of disappointment in my future.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to win every race they sign up for. They can't all go spectacularly. And I like to try to frame my mindset so that no matter what happens, I can be happy about something that went on during the race. And having fun is a super easy goal, because that's 100% under your control. I guess not 100%. It's like, what is it? 60% of the time it works every time.
Yes.
but yeah, so, I don't know. It is hard to aspire to be like the true best, because I don't even know if I think that exists necessarily.
Yeah.
I'd like to maybe be up there as like one of the influential people who like brought the sport to a different place maybe. But
yeah. Well, I think that's a great thing to aspire towards, and I feel like you're well on your way, and we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff here. Before we go back in time and do some background stuff, you and I officially met each other at the Western States 100
yeah, we
a couple
did.
of weeks ago. And then I saw you at Hard Rock, though I don't think we got a chance to interact. Maybe just share a little bit about your experiences at both of those events.
Yeah, so I was purely spectating at States. My friend Jake and my buddy Gus were crewing Chris Meyer, who had a fantastic day out there, and it was awesome. It was fun to watch him finish, because Jake is like jogging down the finish chute, as like the crew, and he's just sobbing. And it was just like, this sport is so awesome. And I got to volunteer. I got to volunteer at Forest Hill, which is what I did last year while I was waiting for Kevin, who he's my partner now, but I met him for the first time at States last year. So that was actually, and I paced him blind, like we had never met before.
Tell that story.
Yeah,
so you were volunteering at Forest Hill, and some lonely runner came through, and you jumped into pace?
Sort of. So Jake and I were going to States regardless. This is in 24. So we were going, and like on the way down there, he got a text message from like a friend of a friend who was basically like, hey, this random dude's pacers can't come because they had gotten sick or something. And he's looking for pacers. And so Jake and I both were like, oh, well, we'll just split it up and like we'll pace. And then Jake got called into Chris's crew. And he was like, yo, can you just pace the whole thing? And I was like, duh, of course I can. And so I met Kevin the day before States. So that is it Thursday or whatever. So I met him, and like we both kind of determined that we're not serial killers. And that it would probably be fine if we were in the woods together. I picked him. And so I hung out with Jake and the Chris Meyer crew, and then they dropped me off at Forest Hill. So I had about 6 hours at Forest Hill to like kill time. And so I just, volunteered at the aid station and was like, until, Kevin arrived. And then, so this year, and he finished, which was great. And we obviously got along pretty well. So this year we both wanted to kind of go back and to the place where it like all started.
The start of an amazing love story. Oh, that's great.
Pretty funny. It's definitely a funny story. So I volunteered at Forest Hill again, for a couple hours, which was fun. And then we went, so Kevin he's been to the race, I think 3 times, and he's never seen the top men or women finish. And so we were at Forest Hill, and I love volunteering. Like, I'm super good at cutting watermelon. And so he was like having to drag me away from the aid station. Like, Rachel, like if I do not see the top finishers, like again, it's going to be sad. So we went and watched them finish. I volunteered at the end aid station for a little bit too, because I was there. But saw a couple of the top women finish. And then, and that was States. It was really fun. I love that race is pretty insane these days. Yeah. I loved the Nike doily shirt. I thought that was pretty cool.
The fishnet. Well, cool. Well, it was great to meet you there. And I have been a, loose follower of yours ever since you exploded onto the scene at Cocodona last year. And I want to talk about that here in a bit, but I feel like it'd be a good opportunity to also set some foundational context for the listeners. I'm sure you've developed a lot of new fans recently, as you have noticed in the comment section of your Instagram. As I understand it, you're from Alabama. Is that true?
I'm from Alabama. I do not have an accent, and I cannot make myself have one before you ask.
Is it Roll Tide or War Eagle, or do you not care?
You know, somebody asked me this in the middle of High Lonesome, and I was like so focused on what I was doing. I'm like, my brain kind of short circuited. My family is they're big Roll Tide fans. But I just grew up surrounded by it. And so I actually cannot stand college football. Like, I just cannot stand it. I was dragged to so many games as a kid and just like, I'm good. I went to the University of Alabama in Birmingham, which is like
UAB.
It's like a purely academic school. They were really into basketball, which I did, and soccer and like tennis. And I watched all of I followed all of those. But yeah, so I really don't have an answer.
Tell me about your upbringing in the South. For those who are uninitiated, what we're joking about here is the rivalry that is borderline religious between the University of Alabama and Auburn. But, you know, it's rare, you know, kind of yourself and Hans Troyer kind of represent the South. So I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear how your upbringing in that part of the country has shaped the person and athlete that you are now.
Yeah, I definitely always joke that if you started running in the Southeast, it means you actually like running, like the act of running, because there is nothing fun about running in the South most of the time. I will say I got extremely lucky going to school. So I started running when I was in college down in Birmingham, and there is a incredible supportive community of trail and ultra runners in Birmingham. So I fell into that really quickly. And I think that really helped keep me coming back and signing up for races. And so, but yeah, it's tough down there to run. I mean, the trails are hard. There's not any big continuous climbs, but there's a lot of up and downs. It's really rocky. Obviously there's humidity and like 100-degree temperatures. But yeah, I loved it. I thought I fell in love with trail running, despite all the ticks and bugs, and haven't really looked back since. I started traveling a little bit more to do races like outside of Alabama, probably within like 2013 to 2015, I started traveling, but I didn't actually start running out west until I moved to Washington, which was in 2017. So. Okay. Yeah, I'm barely a representative of the South. I guess I started running in 2010. So, 6 years. That's a long time. I can represent the South. That's fine.
Okay. So, Jake Vale, again, our mutual friend, described you as incorruptible and hyper independent. And what he meant by incorruptible was that you march to the beat of your own drum. It's sort of like, I'm doing this. You can get on the bus or get off the bus type of thing. Do you identify with that characterization? And if so, where do you think those character traits come from?
I definitely think that's true. I mean, I only have to look at today when I was trying to convince Kevin to let me go running, just give an example of how incorrigible I am. I don't know. I mean, if I decide that I want to do something, it's going to be pretty hard to convince me not to at least try it. Which is kind of how I signed up for Cocodona back in 2023, I guess like December of 23. It'd been like poking around in my brain for a couple years because I'd been watching it a good bit. And like, I was really into the live stream in 2023. And that was when I was like, dang, I have FOMO. Like, I don't know if I could do this race, but I really want to like keep it in mind and like keep it on the forefront. And then in January of 2024, I did a fixed time event. It was a 48-hour event and I hit 200 miles and it was like not that hard, you know? I say that and I sound insane, but it wasn't that hard. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. I still was able to continue running. afterwards. And like, I took maybe like a down week and then was kind of right back at it. And I was like, all right, like I gotta take this thing seriously. I gotta do this thing. And then after that, it was just like, all right, well, we're doing like, once I get an idea in my head, we're doing this now kind of thing. So I have to be careful about what kinds of ideas come into my head.
Okay. So before we get to more of your running accolades here, one of the things that's burned in my memory from Cocodona 2024 was the sort of semi-viral moment where you're at an aid station and you just sit at a piano and start tickling the ivories and playing beautiful like orchestra music 150 miles into the race or whatever.
That piano's so flat, I don't think it's very pretty.
Yeah. Well, maybe tell me a little bit about your musical interests. Where was that born, and to what extent do you still stay connected to it?
I have a piano sitting right next to me, actually.
Is that tattoo on your arm, or are those piano keys?
It's piano keys. I got it at States from Sean. He did that little pop-up thing. But yeah, I would say it's probably, I really like to cook. Cooking is really fun, especially pasta. But piano is probably like my number 2 hobby outside of running. So I do try to play most days that I'm home. I try to play. If there's a piano anywhere, like out in the world, I don't know, it's just like a honing mechanism. Like I just go to it and play anything. I don't know. I think it's really fun, and to watch people make music is really fun for me personally. And so if, somebody else feels the same way and there I am like dorking around on a piano, like I don't know. It just is, it's nice. I think there's nothing that's more vulnerable than sharing music with people. And so I like to play. So I play music. I play by ear. So I don't actually know how to read any music. And I really like to learn popular like songs. Like I know Careless Whisper on piano. And I just kind of compose them all myself and play them, and people get a kick out of it. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun, cool. It's the exact opposite of running. So it's a good hobby.
You got to do a live stream recital for all your new fans at some point.
I know. Well, I actually have a little circle on the top of my Instagram that's me fooling around on the piano.
Like a highlights. All right.
Yeah, highlights. I'm sorry. I'm really bad at these things. But yeah, I haven't been home very much, so I haven't done one. But I've got a couple, like I just learned a Creed song.
Yeah.
That I'm really excited about. So I need to figure out how when I can film a couple.
It's funny. My father-in-law is a big pianist, but he takes the summers off. He's like an athlete. He takes an off season.
Yeah.
And then, sort of the fall, he starts dipping into it. By Christmas, he's in mid-season form. And then by the spring, he's sort of a little burnt out, needs to take some time off. So, everybody periodizes their exploits in some way, whether athletic or artistic.
Yeah, I definitely guess I play more in the winter because it's just dark. Well, not dark.
Winter is unequivocally piano season. I think
piano season.
Universal consensus. Okay, let's talk about running and not so much about pianos. But I was looking back at your historical results, and you've started to scratch the surface on this a little bit. But you sort of began your trail and ultra career in your early 20s in Birmingham, Alabama. It's not exactly the traditional on-ramp for a lot of people. Maybe just share a little bit about where you were at in your life at that time, in your early 20s in the South, that motivated you to get into the sport.
Yeah, so I loved sports and I loved competition. Like, I think it's a really healthy way to get aggression. Like, it's a good outlet for that is not, at like work or with your friends or something. So I've always played sports growing up, but I've never exactly been very good at them. So when I went off to college, I, was about to lose 3 big mechanisms for me to like expend a bunch of energy. And I couldn't let that happen. And so I just kind of figured like, well, running is probably the easiest way to stay in shape, to explore the city that I'm in, to give me something to do, to burn energy. And like, it's something that I do like to see improvement and progression in things that I'm doing, or else, why am I allowing myself to stay mediocre at something? So running seemed like very easy. I can either run farther or run harder things or run faster. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can gauge improvement. And so Yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer. I just, quote unquote, all you need is a pair of shoes. Which as a trail runner now, I'm like, yeah, right. But yeah, and so I just, started. I could leave my dorm. I could do it at any time. Just go explore. So yeah, that was kind of why I decided to run. And I did some, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like intramural sports, I think is what it's called in college.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of those, and running translates really well to, especially indoor soccer. I played a lot of that, and I was just like a gnat flying around the gym, like getting in everyone's way. So, yeah, it was an easy thing to pick up for sure. And then I kind of discovered that I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed how, I could maybe do like nothing all day, and I'd go for a run and I would get home and I'd be like, yeah, I was productive today. Like it gave me something that was actual work that I had done. So yeah, I don't know. It was a good confidence booster. It was enjoyable for me. I progressed pretty quickly, and then kind of discovered, there are races that I could do. And that was a little scary because, I had made progress within myself, but I was afraid what that would look like when compared to other people a little bit. Because I didn't want this thing that I loved to become this thing that now I felt bad about. But
because it provides a measuring apparatus so that you can assess where you stand relative to other people.
Yeah. And I mean, that can be good and bad, obviously. But when I was in college, I definitely was kind of in a fragile place with regards to like self-confidence and who I was. But I signed up anyway, and it went pretty well. And I actually surprisingly didn't care nearly as much about how I actually did. I think especially in the half marathon and marathon scene on roads, there's so many participants that I just was like, okay, well, the chances that I win is not high. So it really gave me a lot of anonymity and a lot less pressure.
What do you mean you were in a fragile place, and was running one of the tools that helped you emerge from that place?
It definitely has been. So I had an eating disorder in high school. And so, I was in the Southeast. I was overweight. I didn't understand how diet and exercise worked in a healthy capacity. And if there's one thing that I'm extremely good at, it's doing things to the extreme. And so, yeah, I don't exactly even, I think just a series of unfortunate events transpired where the solution that my 17-year-old brain came up with was, well, if I get skinny, everything will be better for me. And so I dealt off and on with that. I mean, if I'm being honest, probably for 5 years, had to go to rehab, did the whole thing. But running has definitely been a way for me to see how strong my body can get. And I would say within the last, I've been mentally healthy for a long time, but this year, or maybe last year, has really been like a turning point with my fueling that I'm really excited about. So that's been another kind of like nice little piece that's finally clicked in there of like, oh, like if I fuel the activity that I'm doing, I'm even better at it. And it's not to say that I haven't been fueling, but I've definitely been fueling, like, looking back, inadequately. But running has definitely made me appreciate what my body can do, and the space that it takes up. So that's been a really nice transition because when I was sick, I used running in an unhealthy way, and running wasn't something that was enjoyable. It was something that was exhausting, but that I had to do. And now running is something that I get to do because I'm healthy. And I get to be good at it because I'm healthy. So yeah, it's been a nice little character arc.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really, really interesting. And yeah, I mean, I can identify with some of it and what you said about, being able to see progress being made and the impact that has on how you feel about yourself. I mean, and even if you accomplish nothing else during a day, if you can get out and click off a solid run, it does make you feel like you've accomplished something. Yeah. And as humans, I think we all want to feel like we've accomplished something in our lives. And probably every day. In perusing your results, I've noticed, and you mentioned this already, that you sort of had a knack for timed events early. And I feel like this is also part of a non-traditional on-ramp to a sport, right? Like, I feel like you do things differently, and this is another example of that. So maybe you could share a little bit about the difference between timed events and traditional racing formats. Like, have you learned any specific skill sets that are required for each?
Yeah, I think that I enjoy all facets of racing at this point. I have done a backyard. That's the probably one that I least enjoy, but the fixed time and the fixed distance, I mean, there are skill sets in a fixed time race that, I mean, I directly applied to High Lonesome like just a couple days ago. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I got into the fixed distance running. Mostly I did everything kind of, if you look at my results, it was all kind of a progression. You know, I started, and I mean, half marathons and 10Ks and stuff aren't in there, but I started small and then I worked my way up. But there's a huge jump between a marathon, or I guess a 50K and a 50 miler. And I was intimidated by that. And so I signed up for a 6-hour. And I loved it. I thought it was a really interesting way. It's very social, which is not something that at the pointy end of a race, you get a lot of social time with people because you're all, you know, kind of doing your own thing. And usually that involves running a lot of the race by yourself. And during a fixed time race where the, you know, length of the route that we're doing is a mile, like I get to see people constantly. And I really like to cheer people on. I think it's really fun. And so getting to cheer people on and chat with people and walk for a couple paces with people was really exciting. And so, yeah, I did 6 hours, did a couple 50 milers, did some 12 hours on my way to doing eventually a 100 miler. So yeah, I mean, it's just one way to tackle a distance that seems scary while controlling pretty much everything. I mean, you have aid every mile, you can stop it. That is a dangerous thing. You can stop at any time. Because my first couple 24-hour races, I think I got to 100 and I was like, I'm done. Like, I don't care how much time I have left. Like, I'm done. I'm not. And it took me a really long time to get over that hurdle of like, just because your body is telling you it wants to stop right now doesn't actually mean that you have to. But yeah, I mean, the fixed time races, I mean, I think a superpower it's helped me unlock is getting my legs to run at a sub 10 pace when I do not think I can do that. That's been something, I mean, like I said, during High Lonesome, I knew I was close to the course record, but I didn't actually know what it was or how much of the race I had left. All I knew was like, all right, if I want to get this, then I have to run right now. And so I was like, I mean, it was a downhill-ish or flat-ish part of the course, but I mean, I was busting out 9-minute miles, like mile 96 of that. And I credit that 100% to fixed time racing.
So interesting.
Yeah. Fixed time racing is really fun. I really love it. And the same kinds of people kind of show up to the same races. So it's almost like it's like a hard rock kind of, but with a different sect of people.
It's so funny. There's so many little like tiny subcultures within this tiny subculture that we have. But it makes me want to ask, I mean, you just mentioned another tiny subculture, that being backyard racing. I wasn't familiar with your participation in any of those events.
I've done one. Point,
yeah, I did one. It seems like it's squarely within your wheelhouse, but you say you don't like it.
Yeah. I would like to do another one because I don't know if this was a genius move on the race director's part or if it was just like totally evil. But it was in the middle of California Valley in July. So, I mean, it was like 115 degrees by like lap 4. So I didn't make it very long. I think I got like second or third female, but I only made it like 40 miles and then I thought I was going to die. And so that's my only time I've ever done one, but
all right.
It was interesting.
Are you desperate for redemption? I mean, if you found a cooler one, would you want to go and do it?
Not desperate, okay. But I would like to get into doing one at some point. I think that the really cool thing about fixed time and backyard ultras is that you can be successful at almost any age doing those. I do think that, I mean, here I say this, and Ludovic Pomeroy just smashed everything at age 50, but I do think that trail running eventually is going to have, like, there is an age at which you are going to enjoy it the most because you are good at it and your joints don't hurt going down hills and like whatever. And so backyard ultras and fixed time, I think, are the way to keep staying competitive and keep doing really long distances without like completely wrecking your body. Like trail running can.
I'm just realizing we are recording this on Ludo Pomeroy's 50th birthday.
Yeah,
Happy birthday,
that.
Ludo.
Yeah, shout out. Bon anniversaire, Ludo.
Yes, amazing.
But yeah, so
right, cool.
So I don't know. I mean, I'll do one at some point. There's a couple that have been on my radar, but nothing is lining up with my schedule at the moment.
Yeah, well, your schedule's ridiculous. We'll talk about that later.
Schedule's ridiculous. Yeah.
So before we talk about 2025, and I don't know, it feels to me like this is really sort of a breakout season for you that could portend incredible things for the future. I'd love to spend a few minutes just talking about Cocodona last year, because to me that was probably a transformative event, and you and I have never had a chance to talk about it. I'm sure you've done a million interviews, but one thing that I'd love to start with is your GoFundMe, which was entitled something to the effect of, "It turns out running is expensive."
Yep.
And I want to talk about sponsorships later. So just planting the seed now. Talk about the GoFundMe and how it came together before Cocodona 2024.
Yeah. This is a story. So yeah, I did my 200 miles at across the years. I realized I probably could sign up for Cocodona. I looked at the price and I was like, holy crap. Like, I can either do this race or I can pay my rent. And like, that was the choice. And so I kind of quickly came to the realization that I cannot do this by myself. And over the years, I've had a lot of people, especially in the South, actually. I will say the South is a very giving place. But a lot of my, friends on Facebook or Instagram have always been like, yo, if you need anything, like, we would love to help you. We think you're great. We still don't have any sponsorships. And, my Southern homies have been thinking that's bananas for years. And so, I kind of decided, and I was on our way to our mutual friend Jake's house. But I was in Los Angeles and he was in Ventura. And so before I left, I just was like, you know what, I'm going to make a GoFundMe. I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to make it the smallest amount possible so that, that will be helpful. So that if I don't hit it or like whatever, it's going to be easy to hit. And if I don't hit it, then fine. And so I posted it and then I just immediately left and I like didn't think about it. And by the time, so it's about an hour and a half drive to Jake's place. And by the time I made it to Jake's place, I was almost at my goal. And so I was like, holy crap, like this is actually happening. So that was a really cool moment. And I think that did help me with Cocodona quite a bit because it wasn't my race. It was like our race in a way. Because obviously I quite literally could not have made it to the start line without the support of, my friends and just like random strangers. So it made it a really cool experience. And then, my crew all coming together really in like a fun way made it, again, Cocodona last year and this year to some extent has never really felt like I'm a part of the system. I am the one running, but like everybody else is the ones who are getting me to the start line and then getting me across the finish line. But yeah, the GoFundMe was cool.
I was planning to ask about this later, but it makes me want to just do it now. What you're kind of referencing is kind of this magic of Cocodona itself. And Jake Vale, who crewed for you, I think at both of your wins there, was the first person who said to me, like, Dylan, you need to go to this race. There's nothing that can really properly describe it. It's just the thing. And it's awesome. It's life-changing. You need to be there. So to the best of your abilities, can you articulate the magic of Cocodona, or the thing that Jake was trying to put his finger on?
Yeah. So it's got to be hard to articulate, but I'll just talk about my experience, I guess, because that's the only thing I'm an expert on. So for me, I think you get to a point in your racing where things might be challenging in unique ways. Like 100 milers might present with like, oh, there's altitude and there's 30,000 feet of climbing, whatever. But like, you know how to finish a 100 miler. Like you just know how to do it. You've done a lot of them, whatever. But like Cocodona is something where I'm not just going to go do that ever outside of that race. And so because I'm not practiced with it, I experience a lot of novel problems that now I have to figure out how to work through. And I think it just mentally takes you to a place that like maybe people, who are new to the sport get there during a 100-miler. I am not like that. It's rare that I get to the same place at the end of a 100-miler that I get to during Cocodona. So I don't know. You just get to be in this awesome environment, and the towns really come out and they really support it. And it's such a cool route too, because you get to see the whole state, and like I said, the communities in the little towns are really into it. And this year everybody knew me, and so they were like, "Bah!" So yeah, I don't know. It's and you're doing it with all these people, like all these other people too. You're not just some psychopath out on the AT by yourself. Like you're doing this with other people who also want to do it.
And those through hikers, they're psychos. But the Cocodona people are totally sane. Totally
we're all
sane.
mad here. But yeah, I don't know. There is something really fun about it is so hard. I mean, that is so hard to do. It is hard to be in the desert, walking or running 250 miles. And so when you get to that finish line, I mean, there is nothing like it. It really just, and or at least I know that I could not have gotten there by myself. So I don't know, you feel this like great sense of like connection with the universe, I guess, when I feel like I definitely sound like I'm on shrooms or something, but yeah, you just feel like you're really connected to everything. And I mean, I cry at least like once a day in that race, just because it's like, oh my God, this is so awesome. I can't believe this is happening. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, Jamil really did, I think, something very special.
It is.
So I hope you do it, dude. You should give it a whack.
Got a lot of work to do, but I have aspirations to maybe potentially try it.
It's not, it's not as hard. It is hard, but it's not as hard as you think. You just have to, you do have to be prepared. You have to be prepared, but
yeah, of course.
It's fun.
Okay. So back to this GoFundMe real quick. On your Strava account, the description of you as an athlete says that you're sponsored by your parents. Again, we'll talk about sponsorship in a second, but to me, this is maybe a funny joke about the GoFundMe that people's random parents paid for, giving you this opportunity to do your first Cocodona. And spoiler alert, you won the race last year in 2024.
Yeah, it was cool. That was a cool story.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to hear. Like if there were any kind of fun or special interactions from the donors who made that experience possible, or any fun reactions from them when they were like, holy smokes, my $100 donation resulted in a win at this wild, crazy race in Arizona.
Yeah, it is really funny because, again, I think everybody knew I was going to win except for me. And so when it actually happened, I was like, but nobody else was really that surprised, I guess. But yeah, for me personally, I mean, I knew that people had sacrificed their time and money to get me to start. And so that was a great outcome. And it happened, I don't know how much you followed the race last year, but it happened very strangely where I found out I was in first place suddenly at mile 2:18. And so it's like, holy crap, like what now? Like, is this actually happening? Kind of like this year. Apparently I have a theme at this race, but yeah, so it was, I mean, for me personally, that was really gratifying to know that I asked for help and I delivered a result that any result I was going to be happy with, but and in a society, everybody thinks that winning is the ultimate goal. And so it was really cool that that it happened the way it did. Some unsponsored loser just GoFundMe'd her way to first place.
So interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so before we talk about this season and your back-to-back victories, you now live in Conifer, Colorado, as I understand it, which for the viewers and listeners is not exactly a bustling metropolis. You sort of need to be there for a specific reason. What is your specific reason for moving to Conifer?
Well, Kevin lives here. So yeah, when we kind of got together, I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I'd lived there for about 4 years, and it was like 3.5 years too long to live in Los Angeles. And I just kind of couldn't rally up enough motivation to actually make a leave happen. And then through like a lot of different factors, like I met Kevin, I ended my job. And like I had a really and this is not on ultra sign up, but it does bear mentioning. I had a really terrible Spartathlon that actually resulted in a DNF. And that just like, oh my God, I remember I was in Athens, which is a huge city, and I was having to go back home to a huge city. And I just felt like I was about to die. And so all of those things kind of conglomerated into the motivation I needed to move. And so I was talking to Kevin before we had started dating, and I was like, well, here's a list of the cities that meet because I had like detailed requirements of like population density and proximity to Trader Joe's and airports and like all these things. And so he was like, well, you should come in Denver and Boulder, and like the Front Range area was number one on my list. And so he was like, well, come visit. And then I came and visited, and I was like, holy crap, I love it here. And the altitude is really cool. It's gorgeous just like outside the door. So that's really nice. There's very little traffic, which is fabulous. The only bad part of living in Conifer is every restaurant closes at like 9 p.m. So that's a bummer. No Korean food, which is also a bummer. But I don't know. It's been a really nice like break from Los Angeles, because there were things that I shockingly loved about living there, but I'm glad my life has slowed down, because I'm already very much like high intensity all the time, and living in a place that is also like that just leads to a lot of weird anxiety. So
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so let's spend a lot of time on Cocodona this year. I'm sure that's the thing that our audience is really interested to hear about. Coming back with the experience of 2024, how did your preparation and goals change coming into this year's Cocodona?
Well, Courtney was there, so we got to talk about that a little bit.
Who's that? Never heard of her.
Right. Courtney who?
Right. The goat. Yeah.
Yeah. My only motivation going into this race was to not make a complete fool out of myself, and to at least compete with somebody that is her caliber. And there were a lot of really talented women. Like Lindsay Dwyer was towing the line at her first one, but her training was nuts, and like she needs a shout.
Shout out SFRC. She's local to where I live here in the Bay Area.
Yeah. And then, Sarah Oswazewski, Mika Thews, like there were Georgia Porter, like there were a lot of really strong women. And so my goal was to at least feel confident enough that I deserved to be in that cohort. Unfortunately, though, my training was not, I don't feel like, as good, which I know is kind of funny because I shaved so much time off my previous finishing time. Yeah. But I had a really I was on a travel contract for physical therapy. And it was insanely stressful. Like I was constantly busy. Training in the nighttime after work, after you've worked an 11-hour day in the dead of winter in Conifer is not inspiring. Let me tell you, it's freezing. So it was hard to get a lot of those miles in really until March, the end of March. And by that time it's so close to the race, you don't really want to do anything huge. So I was not feeling as confident, I think, going into Cocodona as I would have liked to have been. But the thing that I knew I had on my side is, well, I have won this thing before. So I must know something. And I knew that I live at 8,500 feet, which is a luxury that not everybody gets. And I had been doing a lot more speed work on accident. Because during my lunch break, I would get out for exactly 53 minutes. And the faster I'm able to run, the more miles I can get. So I was doing, I knew my legs felt good. I knew I was healthy. I certainly wasn't overtrained going into it. And so I showed up at the start line as best I felt I could have, and that was just going to have to be good enough. And then, yeah, it did whatever happened.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a little bit of it. I mean, to me, as somebody who was following throughout, and especially in that first day, kind of the story of Cocodona was like, oh, wait, this isn't Arizona desert heat. It was
Yeah.
snowstorms and sleet
Yeah.
and people wearing tights and rain pants.
Yeah, which coming from here, I was like, heck yeah, this is exactly what I've been training in for 5 months. So I was totally fine. I know that the weather was like a huge factor for a lot of people. I was not one of them. The mud was a little frustrating, but I knew that everybody was going to have to deal with the mud. I was not, and like everybody was going to struggle at least as much as I was. There's no shortcut through mud. So I just kind of tried to be as efficient as I could and not let it get to me. But yeah, I didn't think the weather was that significant. I did get lucky. I know Finn got like stuck in a downpour that I missed because I was already like past it. But yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. I guess.
Well, okay. So one thing I'm interested in is because these 200-mile races are still pretty new. I mean, Cocodona, I think most people would agree, was probably the most competitive 200-plus mile event that we've ever seen. And I think probably will inspire that to just further accelerate in years to come. But I'd love for you to just maybe just speak a little bit about, of course, you don't have an immense experience doing this. At least you've done it a couple of times. But just talking about how it is transforming competitively and any particular anecdotes or examples of that from the race this year that people might find interesting, because I do feel like originally it's like, okay, this is just a pure sufferfest survival mission slog. And now it's like, no, there's tactics, there's real racing strategy and stuff. And I feel like that's only going to advance more in years to come. I
think so too. And I mean, I don't know, outside of maybe Mike McKnight, I don't know of anybody who has had, and maybe Mika, yeah, there's not a lot of people who have just done a ton of these, you know? So that's something that is exciting to me and that does keep me interested in the 200 space, is because like I haven't gotten to be on the forefront of 100 milers being created, but I can still be on the forefront of this niche getting to be competitive. And yeah, I mean, I think for the first couple of years of Cocodona, it was very much like, oh, well, if you can, you can power hike your way to a victory. And to some extent, I mean, you have to hike strategically. But I mean, it was from the second the gun went off, I was like, holy crap, we're going so much faster than I thought we were going to be. And that did make me
following the live stream. It was crazy. And dude, even on Instagram, the reels they were posting was like, dude, it feels like these guys are tempoing right now.
It was freaking nuts. But like, that's, you know, and that was something too that I was thinking about during High Lonesome as well, was like, holy crap. Like I did a 6:59 the first mile. I was like, what are we doing? This is 100 miles. Like, are we idiots? But you do, I mean, there is a certain component of like, know thyself. And I knew during both Cocodona and during High Lonesome, it's like, well, I can't do this forever, but I can do this right now. So like, it's not going to hurt me to hang with this pack, because we're not like, if somebody can do this forever, they win and I can't compete. But I mean, I can do this right now, and it is something that I can manage. And yeah, I mean, Cocodona was the same way. We blasted out of the gate, started going on that single track, and it was nuts. I felt like I was running so fast. And even like so I got in, and I tend to be a little better at being efficient through aid stations on my own. So for the first like day where you can't really have any pacers, I was like, all right, like in and out of aid station. So I got to the mile 7 aid station and like left it as soon as as fast as I could. And so I made it in front of Courtney, and I was like, well, let's see how long this lasts for. And it didn't last very long, but I saw her just like mobbing up these massive climbs. And I was like, okay, like that cannot bother me right now. Like I think fixed time racing has helped me discover what my barely manageable pace is. And I was in the barely manageable zone. Like I can do this.
That's an interesting instinct that it was valuable to tune into, I think, in a lot of circumstances.
Helpful. Yeah, it's super helpful. So, and I was helping my friend Pete run Western States, and that was something that we had talked about a good bit. Was like, you got to find your barely manageable, because that's how you're going to be competitive. Is, you know, and I've had a lot of, and I do think that the biggest way that I've found that pace is through fixed time and just like going for it during things like Cocodona. Like, you don't, unfortunately, the barely manageable is something that is only figured out in retrospect, you know? So, and like, you know, you can do some things in real time based off effort. But yeah, I mean, I've never worn a watch. I don't know what my pace actually was, but I do know how I felt. So,
you've never worn a watch?
I did. So High Lonesome was my first race that I had a watch at ever in my life. Yeah. And the only reason I got it is because everybody's.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at your Strava. So by definition,
everybody's nagging at me to get a watch and share my data, and it's like, well, I'm giving you my stuff, but yeah, they want like my heart rate and stuff. So, whatever. But yeah, so I don't know. I think it'll be interesting next year at Cocodona too, because I do, you know, I know that the women in the field are going to bring their best games, and like, you know, now with this race, because it is so competitive, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how to train for it yet, maybe.
Well, you're going to be on the bleeding edge of figuring it out. And so maybe that's why it's important for you to have a watch, because everybody else is going to be learning by osmosis. Yeah. All right. So I want to talk about high-low too, but quickly, you mentioned this, but you were 10 hours faster. Your winning time this year. You were 4th overall. I think 16 hours faster than the second place woman. Definitely one of the performances of the year so far.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So one of the things I'm sure people are interested is, like, you know, as somebody who is watching for the entirety of that 60 plus hours, it's, you know, felt flawless, but I'm sure there's places where you feel like you can do better, potentially improve next year. Share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'll talk about the things that I think I did well and that contributed to that 10 hours. And then I'll talk about where I think I can get more time. Because I think that sharing this information is helpful. So the things that I improved with, I was familiar with the course, so I knew what hills I could run. Because, you know, if there's like a very small hill followed by like a giant downhill, fine, I'll just run it because I'm about to like get a break on the downhill. So yeah, I was able to run in more places because I was familiar with what that terrain was going to be. I knew where I was probably likely to slow down, and so I wanted to capitalize on the places I knew were easy. So that was definitely something. Fueling was definitely something else. I ate way more this year, and I know that contributed to my legs getting less fatigued and just my brain working better. I didn't have any stomach issues. In 24, I had a lot of stomach issues. I basically barfed for 10 hours. So that's probably where it came from in and of itself. But I do still think this year or next year, I do think I can make time at my aid station transitions, especially later in the race. 200s are interesting, and this is a 250 miler. So it's even more interesting because as the race goes on, you do have to deal with more problems because of the cumulative amount of crap that you're putting your body through. And so, you know, I want to be respectful of that. But I also know that, you know, the first year I did Cocodona, I had zero idea what I was doing. If I was chilling out at an aid station for longer than I wanted, I was just like, well, whatever. Like, it's an opportunity for me to sit and relax and get off my feet. And like, I'm not going to be upset about the fact that my pacer's not ready yet. Or like, I'm having to wait around on ramen. Like, it doesn't matter. This year I tried to cinch that a little bit more, but I do still think that there's a lot of time that I can get rid of there. Because there was a lot of moments where I was just like, meh, whatever. Let's just hang out for a second.
It's so funny. And I think more and more pros are having the same thought, even in races like Western States and UTMB. I mean, those aid station transitions have become so critical. I think more UTMB and Hard Rock are better examples than Western States because, Western States people are really in and out doing the pack swaps and bottle drops and whatever. But UTMB, Hard Rock, where it does become more tempting and where it becomes more necessary to have a quick pause to do gear change. I don't know. I have found, at least subjectively, that a lot of the pros are actually doing deeper analysis on that. And
yeah. And I
those
think
aid station.
I also kind of suck at figuring out what I actually want to accomplish in this aid station, other than like, all right, my friends. I get so excited to see my friends that I kind of forget what I'm doing. And they're like, what do you want? It's like, I don't know. I just wanted to see you for the last like 30 minutes. So I have no idea. Maybe fill this bottle with something. And so one thing that I actually started doing a little bit at the goading of all my pacers during Cocodona was like, we would be about 15 minutes out from the aid station and they'd be like, okay, what do you want? Think about what you want. And I will text the group so that they could like have that ready. And I think that's something that I need to work on is figuring out, because I'm very much somebody who just, I'm cool with it. Like, sure, these shoes hurt and I could probably fix them, but like, I don't really care actually. So I definitely need to figure out how, I mean, your crew is there to help you, you know, like they understand that's their role. And I'm like not interested in making them, I feel like they're already there and they're doing so much. I don't want to like ask them for anything else, but that's their job. So I need to personally learn how to use a crew better.
So just to put a button on the Cocodona talk, you're already referencing next year, which makes me think that it's a foregone conclusion that you've decided to go for the 3-peat. Is that true?
Yeah. You gotta, dude. I mean, I don't know. Why would I not do this? I have to do this.
Let's go. All right. So. Print the t-shirts. Rachel 3-peat Entrekin. All right. All right. So hi, Lonesome now. I mean, we don't need to spend a million hours on this, but I'd love to hear a few anecdotes about it. If you can share specifically, would love to hear about the recovery from Cocodona, whether it felt like a quick turnaround. I mean, it was probably 10 weeks maybe between. Yeah.
Had more time than Dan Green, so.
Yeah, right. Good point.
Yeah.
So share a little bit about the turnaround and about the race itself. Would love to hear.
I felt like I recovered from Cocodona. Again, I mean, I think I probably have some sort of weird superpower when it comes to like just feeling fine pretty much at baseline. But yeah, I felt like I recovered from Cocodona pretty well. I ran like 100-mile week the weekend of Memorial Day, which was 3 weeks after the race. And I was like, this is great. So, I don't emulate what I'm doing. But yeah, so with that being said, I felt pretty good. It is a little interesting. And I was curious how Dan was going to do at States, because you don't really know how you feel till you're like 60 miles in. Yeah. And I'd done a lot of runs where I felt great, but I'd done 25 miles, I'd done 30 miles or 8 hours or whatever. And like, that's not the same. So, I did go into High Lonesome with a little bit of like, oh boy, like it'll be fine. Like no matter what happens, it'll be fine. I love, like, I'd not done this race before, but I know the race director and I think he's like hilarious and his wife is awesome. And like, I had a lot of support within the community. And like the women's field I knew the women's field was going to be really fun. And so, I was in the back of my mind, I was preparing myself for like, all right, if you blow up at mile 70, like you can just wait for Kevin and you can just run it in with him. Like that was my backup plan, was like, just finish, whatever. But yeah, I started the race and I felt great. I got to a lot of the big climbs. I love climbing. I love high altitude stuff. I don't know what is wrong with me again, but I feel like I tolerate altitude super well. And I don't slow down at the end of races very much. And so, I got through all the climbs. I made it through the high country, in my opinion, quite flawlessly. I made it to Monarch, like just after the sun had set, which was well before my goal that I thought, and then knew that the rest of the course was pretty runnable and I know how to do that. So it was really just kind of like, okay, well, this is going pretty well. So like, just keep after it. And honestly, I've kind of been laughing about this because everybody's been saying like, oh, it must be super easy because you've done like 200, like it must be half as hard or whatever. And I would not say that. I would say in the moment, it was just as hard as Cocodona was. It was just shorter. And that was awesome. Like I got to be done in like 22 hours as opposed to like 65. So
walk in the park.
That was cool. But like moment to moment, I was working just as hard. But it was just, I was working just as hard for a lot less time. And I didn't recognize the difference in those things until after the race was over. And I was like, holy crap, I'm just sitting because I'm done. That's really nice. So, but yeah, 100 milers are still not easy. They're not easy. If you're doing them right, they should not be easy. So
never easy, except for Carl Meltzer, who says 100 miles is not that far. That mofo. Anyway. All right. So congratulations, first of all, Rachel.
Thanks.
Incredible year so far. And before we start talking about the future, we'd love to have you just kind of meditate on this, streak of success that you have right now, what it feels like. And also I'd love to introduce this topic of sponsorship into the conversation here.
Yeah.
People who follow the sport closely will know that Dan Green got signed to Salomon after Cocodona. Mm-hmm. You also broke the course record there. We had this huge course record at High Lonesome also. I talked to our buddy Jake Vale today who said, the emails are popping off. So 2-part question, just share a little bit about what it feels like to sort of have this breakthrough for yourself personally. And if there are any new and exciting opportunities on the horizon for you.
It has been really strange because, this has been a thing I actually didn't really know until everybody and their brother's been talking about it. But again, saving the Spartathlon DNF, I haven't lost a race in 3 years. So I'm not doing anything differently. I think people are just paying attention. So for me, It doesn't feel any different. I'm just like, well, welcome to the party, for all these people who are like just tuning in. Like,
thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. I've been here since 6 p.m. So, So it's been pretty wild because, you go that long and you have, and admittedly, I haven't been doing huge races. I've been doing the races I can afford, and so those aren't, obviously I'm not doing UTMB. I can't do that with my work schedule and I can't do that financially, but I was successful in things I signed up for. And so now I'm just at a place where I'm successful for things I sign up for. I'm just lucky enough to get to sign up for things that people have eyes on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. It is strange to have, this much influence, maybe. Like, people want to take pictures with me. And like some lady, I was down in Denver at Trader Joe's shopping, and she was like, holy crap, are you Rachel Entrekin? I was like, yep. So, I think it's cool. I don't really mind it. I love it when people come up and say hi to me, and I especially love it when they're like, oh my God, I was so nervous to come say hi to you. It's like, don't be nervous. Like, I'm 5'2". Like, I'm not an intimidating figure.
All right, but hey, you're dancing around the more pointed question. Is your inbox blowing up with brands trying to get in on the Rachel Entrekin show?
Yeah, I would say it is not happening as quickly as I was hoping it was going to. And I've spent a lot of time like pursuing leads maybe that just kind of don't go anywhere. And that has been really frustrating. So it definitely, nobody's really written a book on how to do this, how to get paid money to run. So I've, it's a lot of cold emails to people that I never get responses from. It's a lot of like text messages that just like don't get responded to. And so it's like, everybody seems very eager to, like, individuals seem very eager to help, but corporations do not. And so that has been what I have been struggling with is like, people like, employees of On and Hoka and all these big brands are like, heck yeah, like, what do you mean you're not still sponsored? Like, let me help you. And then I'm like, yes, cool. And then, that's kind of the end of it.
Well, it always takes longer than you want it to, but I have a feeling that, especially with this latest incredible result at High Lonesome, that you're going to be hard to ignore going forward. And I think there's a lot of people who would love to empower you to, of course, like Cocodona is a huge and world-class event now. High Lonesome, from what I've heard, is one of the coolest 100-milers in the world, but it doesn't have the same cachet as Hard Rock or Western States. And obviously it does take a lot of, support, if not like real independent financial wherewithal to do a race in Europe, UTMB especially.
Yeah.
So you're doing everything you can
Yeah.
that you can control in order to provide that opportunity for yourself. And I'm very confident that somebody's going to come wanting to help
I have had a couple just like flat out, no, sorry, we're not doing that at this time. And it's like, okay. So it's man, I don't know. I thought I would just do good at stuff and get, win, but that has not been the case. So don't be fooled, aspiring athletes. It does not happen very easily.
Yeah, well, that's good to show the transparent reality of where you are right now. But good luck with that. And if there's anything we can do to help, obviously, let us know.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Well, okay. I think the thing that has kept me sane is that I've been doing this by myself for 15 years. And like, if that is what happens, then I think that says something about the sport that I don't really want to think about right now. But it isn't, I don't think, going to affect my motivation at all. Because, I'm not doing this so that I can get rich. I don't think anybody is. Like, I'm doing this because I think it's fun.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. I think it's fun. I like being outdoors. Now I get this cool opportunity where people, are inspired by like me being an idiot on trails, like sick. So, while I do hope that something can happen where my life is easier trying to get myself to the places that I want to be, I'm not going to, stop running or, stop being as excited about racing just because I don't have a sponsorship. Like I've been doing this now forever. I'm just going to keep doing this. Yeah. So.
All right. One more thing before we wind down, and I appreciate your attitude on that. And again, I think that's probably the attitude that will ultimately contribute to opening the door to new opportunities. But we'll stay tuned for updates on your Instagram for when that happens. One more thing I wanted to touch on before our traditional closing question, that is, just looking forward the rest of the season. I was just looking at your ultra sign up. I saw you're registered for the Saddles 50 miler, but then the thing I really loved for you to comment on is the Mammoth 200. We talked about it on the podcast. Yeah, we were just talking about it, Corinne and I. And, that start list is also baller, the 200 mile distance. And that course is freaking insane. And I need
to check it out. Actually, I haven't been. So I used to live off the 395 when I was living in Los Angeles. I mean,
that's what I was going to ask. I know you have a history there in the area.
Yeah. I love, but I never really made it super far north of Bishop. So Mammoth was like, it was an extra hour and I just didn't really want to do it. But I've been to June Lake a couple times. So like there are parts of the course that I'm very familiar with. But I definitely need to go check it out. I think I want to check it out. Seems like it'd be wise because I think a lot of it could be quite runnable terrain. Yeah. So I want to, that helped me out a lot at Cocodona, knowing kind of what was ahead. And so I think that could be beneficial going into this one. But yeah, no, I was like pinned down at States and like, Mammoth has been, I love that area. I love the Sierra. I think they're fantastic. Obviously that race has been on my radar. But I had already signed up for Plain 100 miler, which was like mid-September. And then I had signed up for Saddles because I'd met Versteeg at Cocodona and he's so cool. And he was like, yeah, just sign up. I'll like let you in. It's like, all right, cool. So I signed up for the 50. And then, I had those things on my calendar and then Mammoth got approved and now everybody's like, do Mammoth. And, but yeah, so I wound up, it works out with my schedule, I think. I dropped down from the 100 miler to the 100K at Plain, but they're having a lot of fires. So that might not happen. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so that'll be kind of like a shakeout. Like, all right, let's see how we feel. And then I think like 2.5 weeks later is Mammoth. And then the weekend after Mammoth is Saddles. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's got an asterisk by it. I have some friends so Jake is going and my partner's going and they're running the 100. So it's like, I might just wind up being a crew person for that one. We'll see.
No shame in that. In that. Return the favor a little bit after.
Well, I know. I've been wanting to crew Jake at Cocodona for, 2 years now, and I keep signing up for it. And he's a really good sport about it. So,
so you go for the 3-peat in 26, and then Jake Vale goes for his first Cocodona in 27. All right, done deal here.
Done.
Solution arrived at on the Freetrail podcast.
Yep.
Rachel, you're so awesome. This has been so fun to just chit chat here for
thanks.
a while. And congrats again on all your spectacular success. We close all these interviews with the same closing question. That is, who is one person that you admire? It can be inside or outside of sport, living or dead. Why do you admire that person?
So I got asked this question on a podcast earlier, and my answer is going to stay the same, and it's Harriet Tubman. I think she's
Somebody
really
stole my question?
I guess. I don't know.
Sorry, keep going. I didn't mean to step on your answer here.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, she's somebody who wanted what's best for people who were not getting it. I kind of joked that, like, she's the original ultra runner because she led a bunch of people up to the north where they would be safe. And I just think, I don't know, growing up in the South, we learned a lot about, like, the history of, that time period. And she was always somebody that I thought was just a complete badass. So yeah, she's definitely up there in my list of, like, heroes for sure.
What a great answer. Thank you for sharing that. It's funny, maybe a good place to close. I've only been to Birmingham, Alabama once. And when I was there, I was motivated to finally read Martin Luther King Jr.'s letters from a Birmingham jail.
Yeah.
While I was in Birmingham, Alabama.
That's
something
cool.
I would encourage every American to go take the time to do, a piece of American history and a snapshot into a crazy time in our past. So
yeah.
Anyway, Rachel, congratulations on a great 2025 so far. Good luck at a combination of plane, mammoth, and saddles. We'll see what happens. And,
we'll see which of those actually start. Mammoth is a guarantee.
Yeah.
But
well, the Freetrail community is cheering for you, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.